beginning of the year, I think January and even 2019 in December, we saw some young girls coming up talking about rape, shaming shaming the rapist, saying that this person raped me. But because of maybe the system and because of the police, they reported, but the police didn't follow up maybe. And then today we're going to be talking about rape. What is rape? How does it happen? And that person, how can we create the spaces for them to talk about the rape, talk about these issues that really are affecting them? Because if we don't speak, that means the victims are not going to come out and say ABCD and what really we can do. But of course, before we go into the discussion of the day, I would want you to introduce yourself to people. They know who you are, where you work, your relationship, it's complicated. At least people know the person that they're talking to.
My name is Shakira. I work with the Uganda Network of AIDS Service Organizations, which is an umbrella for different organizations that are working on HIV. I don't think I'm in a relationship. Maybe some people are in a relationship with me, but me, I'm not with any. Yeah, but
so if you know you've been seeing Shakira and I'm like, yeah, maybe you feel like you've been dating her, you've been dating yourself, so you better check it out. Yeah. So now, people out there, they would love to know what is rape sometimes, the definition of rape, because not the academic one, but of course the one that people have experienced, especially young girls and of course young women.
Rape, to my understanding, is a sexual assault, and this involves like the penetration of someone sexually, and it is against the person's will. Like it happens when the person that it has happened to has not accepted to be engaged in that act. So personally, I'm actually very passionate about rape because I was defiled when I was a little girl at 8 years. And if you do not know what entails a person after being, raped, you have no right to judge someone's story. And our society has made it so easy for the perpetrators to go free, because it is difficult to even say or look in a camera and tell people that I was defiled or I was raped, or it is so hard, because rape in its own is like a shaming to many, because it is associated with so many things. Most times the questions that people ask, and you've seen this on social media, why did you allow that man to come into your house, or why did you go to that man's house at that time, or why were you dressing like that, why were you, it always comes back to you, the victim, why were you doing this, And most people associate rape with the way women dress. So I always ask people that if I cook my food and put it outside, and someone comes and steals my food from my veranda, does that mean this person had a right because I left it outside? No. So if Shakira walks in a short dress, does that give you the right to touch on her ass or to? It doesn't, because at the end of the day, it's my body. So if I decide to plait my hair long or short, it's nobody's business. It's mine. So because our society has made it easy, for perpetrators not to be, caught, that is why we have more and more rape cases coming up every day. We have kids being raped. Kids in school being raped by their teachers. Should they also put on long dresses? Or should we ask a young child, why did you go there when the teacher called you? You know, we're teaching our kids to respect their elders. You know, why don't we sit down and ask ourselves, why are men doing this? You know, why is it that a teacher can rape among 4 to 5 girls in a school and nobody knows about it? You get, what are we doing wrong that is keeping on this issue happening? I was in Kalangala one time, and the girls will tell you, like, once you've been raped, the family of the perpetrator, the family of the victim, also try to cover it up because it is shame. You know, how do we tell the public that our daughter was raped? And if you look closely, most of the people that rape us women are people that we know. You get, it's not someone you're going to just find on the street. It's a person that you know. So for a girl to wake up and say, my dad raped me, that is not an easy, you know, statement. For a girl to wake up and say, my uncle raped me, that is not an easy statement. So by the time she stands up and says, I was raped, who are you to say she was not? Were you there? You get, and I know most people will be like, where's the evidence that you were raped? There's a statement that I always like saying that says, absence of evidence is not evidence of absence. That means that if the evidence is not there, it doesn't mean that the crime didn't happen. It doesn't mean that because, you know, you can't find the reason to defend the fact that it happened, it didn't happen. You get my point? So most times, I know our police is doing an amazing job, but most times they look for the evidence or whatever, and that person might not have what they're asking for. Because, and as a survivor of rape, I'll tell you this: the first thing that you want to do is forget this thing ever happened to you. So you're going to try to do so many things to make sure you forget whatever happened, because already you're going to be judged by society. So you're trying to make sure, if I'm going to bathe 1,000 times to make sure, you know, this is off me. If I'm going to, like, you make sure you forget, right? But then you realize you cannot forget, because this is a memory that is going to be stuck with you for the rest of your life. You get, for the rest of your life. And even when, because I would like to say I'm a survivor, but even when you've been, you know, guided and been through a lot and actually think that you've overcome it, there are moments when you're by yourself and that flashback comes, you know,
Yeah.
and then you're taken back. You get my point? So if there are really strong women out there that come out and speak their story, who are we to say it didn't happen to them? Do you get my point? Who are we to say, how about we just say, let's save another person? You get, like, if this happened to you, we might not be able to save Shakira, but we can save another girl.
Has been associated.
Exactly. We can save someone else. We can try to find justice. They might not find justice for me, but we might find justice for another person who is in school and is being lied to by her teacher. Do you get my point? Like, it's hard already. It's hard already.
Like, yeah, it's sad because I think even for me, I can relate, because I think even sometimes when I look at the age of my mother when she got married, she was really young. Yeah, I think she was like maybe 16, because she was still in school. She was still in secondary O level, so she was still young, and she married. I think it wasn't her decision to get married.
Yeah.
She married the soldier. So, and you know, during those days, the 90s, 80s, soldiers were powerful. You see this, so I can really relate. And her story really, my aunties, whenever we meet and have conversations, they tell me, you know what, your mother didn't die natural death. It wasn't natural death. Yeah, it wasn't. It was something that was complicated that we also don't know. So that means it was the violence, it was a lot of stuff that were happening, and she didn't have anyone to share with.
Yeah.
So now for me, at that age of 8, did you tell anyone? And get support from maybe from
For me,
from the mother, from the uncle?
for me, luckily, I have a very close family. And one of the reasons why I'm so passionate about my advocacy and my work is I consider myself to be one of the lucky ones. I had counseling. I had my parents around me 24/7 that made sure I turn out to be the way I am today. You get. And even with that, because people would be like, oh, you had people around you, so it must have been easy. But I'll tell you that it was not. And yet I had a very big force of people around me, you know, pushing me and making sure that I am rehabilitated. I talk to someone, you know, like, show me that I am loved regardless. You get. But even that time, believe me, even with all that support around me, it was not easy. You get, because you cannot forget. You cannot forget. And then you live with the fear that this can happen to you again at any time. And then someone is not going to believe you. You get. So I always asked myself, if I who had my family, my mom, behind me, how about girls who don't have anyone?
Yeah, now you can imagine that person who doesn't have a supportive family, supportive
who is being
friend.
raped by her dad in the house where she sleeps. Do you get my point? How is she going to be able to, you know, talk about it? Who is she going to tell? Because most of the girls will honestly tell you, okay, you want us to talk, but who do you want us to tell? And this is not even pointing fingers, but sometimes even where they go to report the police and stuff, they also do it. They also do it. Their fathers are doing it, their uncles are doing it, cousins brought in the house are doing it. There are so many people. So girls are saying we are not safe even in our homes. If we are not safe in our homes, so where do we, who do we turn to?
There is nowhere we can go.
Exactly. Then who do we turn to? Because even when I meet them in the field, when I go, you know, to have these conversations, I cannot bring them to my house. You get. I cannot take care of them and do, which is to make sure that I talk to the other people that are concerned, that the policymakers, us as advocates, to come together and make sure we train, we change the system that is around. You get, which starts with our community. And even with my family, like I told you, I had a supportive family. But their first instinct was, how do we keep it in the family? Nobody has to know. Do you get my point? And they were not doing it in a bad way. Because as a, you know,
sometimes they are protecting the name of the family.
Exactly. Even you as a child.
And the child.
Exactly. And when I decided to tell my story, not everyone in my family was okay with it. But I said, this is my story. I have the right to tell it. So whether it's going to hurt anyone's feelings, I have to say it. Because if me by saying my story is going to save someone else, then why not? You get. And because many people are doing that, keeping it in the family. I hear no one has to know. They don't want uncle so and so to go to prison. How will they hear that you got your father arrested? You get. How will they hear that, oh, she slept with her dad? You get. But if they are doing it, we have to speak out. We have to speak out.
And that's the confidence that we really need. How can we build that confidence that these young girls who are being raped, the victims who are still there, like they haven't talked to anyone? How can we build that confidence in someone that at least he speaks out? Since the systems also are not favorable, they are not that good. But how can we do that?
I always tell girls mostly, the first person you talk to might not help you, but that should not stop you. Talk to someone else, you know. The first person you can tell is your best friend, your closest friend, because most people will be like, why didn't she report? Do you know what it takes to have the guts to walk to a police station?
Yeah, I know,
like,
and even like there's this girl who I'm not going to mention, but she said it online and people of course attacked her. Like social media is not going to help you. Social media is not police. You're supposed to go police and then look for justice.
Yeah.
And then she was like, you think I did to go to police? I went, but you don't want to listen to this story. So the energy, it takes a lot of courage
Yes.
for someone really to...
Like I told you, the first instinct is for you to forget. When you walk to a police station, they're going to ask you, where were you? What were you
What are you
doing?
doing?
What time was it? And already, these
They
are
don't wanna
moments
see you.
exactly that you're trying to keep inside, like you're trying to. And then once they repeat it over and over, and which of course you can't blame them because they're doing their job, right? But the trauma that you're going through, it takes really a very strong person, a very, very strong person to withstand all that. Because it's not easy. Okay, it's not easy. It takes a really, really strong person. So I always tell people, at least tell someone. Okay. If, like, when people say, why did you go to the police or why did you do, at least you'll
And
be
I know
like,
sometimes there's someone you're telling, like, you don't know what the person is going to respond.
exactly, that's what I tell people. You don't give. You start with your friend. You can, if the very person, your friend, your sister, your someone that is close to you, you know. And if that person doesn't help you, go to the next one. If that one doesn't help, because some girls, in, like I said, are being raped by their dads, are they going to walk to their dad and say, I need help? Of course not. So you can turn to a neighbor. You get. Turn to, let's say, a teacher at school that you can trust and tell them this is happening to me. Believe me, 10 people might not listen, but that 11th person might give you the ear that you need or the help that you need. You get. And then most people think reporting and going to the police and arresting someone is actually the best scenario. No, because even when the person is put away in prison, the person, the victim, still needs a lot of rehabilitation. Sending the perpetrator away is not good enough. You get. This person needs to be brought and given a lot of attention. People kill themselves because this is a memory that sticks with you forever. People kill themselves. People lose, turn to drugs and alcohol and all sorts of kinds of things because that is the only way you can escape that memory. You get.
And sometimes when you turn into taking drugs, like you said, the alcohol, sometimes you're so adding more damage to
but if our girls are not rehabilitated, if our girls are not given the care that they need, that is the channel we turn to. Sexual rape victims become, aggressive, sexually active. They will end up selling sex. They will end up doing, so many things, and at the end of the day, spread diseases, get more hurt. The struggle keeps on growing. But if they are rehabilitated and brought back to feel like a whole human again, because there's something that the rapist takes away from you that they don't even realize. You get. So it
of
means,
course, it takes away your respect, your dignity, like
a lot. So they need a lot of rehabilitation and a lot of conversations for them to understand that I can still be someone regardless of my history, or I can still, be important in this world regardless, and that can only happen with rehabilitation.
Wow, you've heard Shakira's story, of course, which is a painful story, and there are so many girls who are out there who are looking for the ways on how they can speak or to talk to. But from her experience, she says, start with the people that really are next to you, your friends. If you have that close friend, the best friends, tell her, and then okay, sometimes you may think that this person is going to judge you, but she says don't give up. If the first person judges you, talk to another person.
And then we should also be keepers of each other. As people in the neighborhood, if you see a girl, there's some things that I feel like you can see, you get. Like, if you see something is not right, don't just keep a deaf ear because it's not your child. Take the initiative as a neighbor, as an LC chairman, whatever, as someone in the community. Let us be each other's keeper too. To take the initiative of like that girl has been, walking like this, or that girl has, like, there is that sixth sense that you get that can tell you that something is not right. Because most people would be like, it's not my child. Sagala knows whatever is happening in someone else's house. Yes. But people forget that these refugees are going to get married to someone's daughter. And if they're doing it to my kids, they will do it to your grandchildren. So if we don't if people think, oh, I'm going to keep my kids in a closed house, they will not be raped, they will not visit grandparents. No, they're going to wake up, grow up, and get married to someone they've just met in society. And this person probably was not raised right. And that is something you don't have control over as a parent. If I decide that I'm going to marry someone, so my parents don't have, control over that.
No say.
But that's the thing. Because of the way that person might have been raised, or because they didn't have, guidance, or being talked to or something like that, they might end up raping my kids because that's what they grew up seeing. Okay. But as a boy in the family, if you're seeing your dad is doing this to your sister, or your uncle is doing this to your sister when your parents are away, be that person's keeper. Don't keep quiet. Talk and be like, this, mommy, this is happening when you're not around, uncle does this and this. Talk about it. And then as parents, we have to read and educate ourselves about these things. You get? Because sometimes it might be happening. For example, I had nightmares. I could not sleep. I would wake up in the night screaming. And these are all signs that my parents should have seen and known is something is not right with her. You get my point? So let us, as parents, be inquisitive. It's not about paying school fees and sending your kid to school. If she's at school, which teachers is she associating herself with? Which friends does she have? Let us go beyond. Which friends does she have? How was school? How, like, if there's anything that you want to tell me, and as your mom, I'm here and I'm ready and I'm willing to take it. Not just beating and shouting and all that. It's not, what it takes. Let us be parents that are actually parents.
We need to give our kids time. So now, for me, I want you to share with us that experience in school now. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it happened. Now you're in school, like especially in secondary school. Mm-hmm. Sometimes in secondary school, that's when someone is active. Mm-hmm. Someone is when you meet different people. At that time is when the boyfriends, the girlfriends start coming in, and of course the peer pressure and that's the time. So how did you go through the secondary school?
I think what I can say is I tell people my mom was very strict. I had a strict mom, and it's only now that I've grown up that I appreciate the kind of environment that she raised me and my siblings in. You get? In my mother's house, she was the queen, and you had to follow her rules. You get? And I get people these days say kids need freedom, kids need to explore, kids need all kinds of things. But if you are a parent, do not allow that gap to grow too much between you and your child. You get? So at school, like secondary school, of course, most people say, if you look at the victims that have been raped in school, especially secondary schools, people say she accepted. It wasn't rape. This is, a teacher sleeping with his or student, and he's saying she accepted. But what can a 15-year-old tell a 40-year-old man, sincerely? What kind of consent is that? Do you get? What kind of consent is that? And I tell people, because people will be like, what should we do for men to stop defining girls? I tell people, if a 40-year-old man can sleep with his child. I always tell people that men are always going to rape girls, women, whoever it is. Because honestly, what is small me going to tell a 40-year-old man that they don't know already? You get. But I think we need to focus our energy to the young boys in school, in our homes, and teach them to respect women. And teach them that what you see your father doing or your uncle doing, beating your mother or doing this is not right. And hopefully that way we'll get a better generation. Because I honestly don't know what I can tell a 40-year-old man that they don't already know, that rape is wrong. And then I feel we need to be very visible and very vocal. If you were raped, even if it is 10 years ago or 5 years ago or 2 years ago, your story is still valid and you can speak and say it. If you're in a comfortable place to speak, please do. And I also think we need to stop this issue of, I get there are people that will be accused falsely for personal reasons.
Yeah.
I don't have control over that, and I can't say everyone is telling the truth. I can't be honestly supporting that, and it's inhuman for someone to falsely accuse someone. But I don't know why people think that because so and so is someone in society, they can't rape someone. You get my point? How can you say this about this because he's someone in society, he has done this, he has done this. We've had stories of R. Kelly. He's a very respectable man with a lot of money, and people keep saying different things every day. You get. So I don't think we have the right to make someone else feel invisible or feel like their story is not valid when this is what happened to them. So I think as society we have to, one, put the blame where it belongs, to the person that did the crime, not the person who who the crime was done to. And then I think to the victims of rape, we need to speak and tell them that it's not your fault. I think that is not emphasized enough. It's not your fault that you were raped. You get. It's not your fault that this person chose to do something that is very inhumane to you. And we as survivors or victims, we need to learn to put the blame where it belongs. Do not be angry at yourself. Be angry at the person that did this to you. Do not feel ashamed of yourself. Focus all that energy to the person that did this to you. And make sure you speak. If you can't speak, write it down somewhere. Write it down somewhere. And there's a way when you talk about something, there's a way that you feel like something is being lifted over your shoulder. And I can't promise that once you tell someone it will be okay. No, it will not. But you will have done someone else another favor.
It is a process.
Yes, and if for example, the people that they have been putting all over social media, I'm sure now girls, when they're in such people's, corners, or they are cautious because someone else had the guts to speak up. Because if that person did speak, then it's going to happen to another person. But now, someone who read her story would be like, if someone's, I'm smelling a rat, let me run for my life. And that is why we need more of these stories. We need to empower women to speak and tell their stories.
Yeah, and you've heard the stories of university students. So now, for that university students who want to graduate, and the students, maybe the friends, sometimes at the campus, no one cares. Everyone is doing this, to showbiz, the lifestyle is totally different.
Yeah.
So if that person is there that has been raped or is now finding the ways you've mentioned a lot, but is in that situation, I want to graduate, but again, I don't want people to know about this. How would you really make that person comfortable and say it out when she's still at the campus?
One thing that, and I want to emphasize, and this is for us as girls, it's not your fault to be raped, but I want us to be conscious. You get where we are in society, we are facing like very hard times. You get, and I want us to be alert, if I should say. Like, if you see something funny, you know, like we as women, we have that sixth sense. If your boyfriend is cheating, you will know. You'll just refuse to accept it, but you will know. Deep down in you, you will know something is not right. So if you feel like something is not right with a certain lecturer, put an end to that communication. You get, put an end to that communication, such that if this person wants to make you fail, at the end of the day, your paper will speak for you. Even if you decide to, like, okay, now I'm going to press charges or something like that, you have evidence. We are in the era of smartphones. You get, if there's some, and you know what's funny about men who don't reason is they will go extra miles to make your life miserable because you say no. You get, so for such kinds of lecturers or whatever, we move in the era of smartphones. If you can, and I know it's a little bit risky, if you can even record that conversation of him threatening you to do something to your results or your work or whatever, and you can have a basis, you know, to actually even sue this man, you know. And then I've learned in life that we win some battles and we lose some. If your goal is to graduate, it should not, how should I say this? Have you ever seen someone who has got everything they want, but they're not happy?
There are so many.
But they're not happy. But they have a lot of money, they have a lot of degrees.
Of course, you've seen rich people committing suicide.
Because, like I said, the rape is something that is not going to go away from you. It's not something you're going to forget. So you might allow to keep quiet because you want a graduation, but you're killing yourself from the inside. You're going to see this man's face every time. So my advice would be seek for help, go for counseling. Go for counseling, talk to someone. I believe counseling helps. Talk to someone. The more you express the way you feel and the feelings that you have, because there are so many inside, you get to cross on the other side. You get better. Every day gets better than the other day. And sometimes you go back and think about what happened and stuff, but still you will wake up to a better day the following day.
Now look at this scenario where one is drunk, where sometimes, of course, the girls, they've been hanging out with maybe friends, they call them best friends, but of course we have different agendas, we have different missions, we have different things, and sometimes why I'm buying this, I'm doing this, doing this. And then that day, she got drunk, and she couldn't go home, she couldn't order for that Uber, she couldn't order for that border to take her home, and then the guy was like, since we are friends, let me take you home. And when you reached home, because that person has his mission and then decides to have sex with someone who's unconscious, who's drunk. So, and what would you tell up, like girls who drink up with
I like I said, we have to be each other's keeper, you know. And I think it's also up to us. And like I said, this is not even to put blame to the victim or anything like that, no. But the times that we are in, you know, if we are in a society where a man can rape their child, we are in times whereby we need to be alert as women. You get? We don't have a timeout. Sadly, that is the reality that we are in. Like every step you take, you have to be very, very cautious about your life. You get? If I am going out, I make sure I am with people around me that I can trust, right? And my friends have this thing, like at least one of us among us, like one of us has to be able to know where we're going. If you see, like, and then you know when people get drink, they get excited. There is that friend who will be like, you've had enough for today.
This is enough.
That is enough for today. You
can't.
can't, let's go home. And you know, at that moment, for a drunk person, you might even cause an argument. Who the hell are you to tell me what to do? I'm old enough. But when they wake up in the morning, they will realize what you saved them from. Okay. So I feel like we should be very, very alert. That's the best that I can say. And because when it comes to someone that was drunk, it's even hard for people to listen to you because that's the society.
All right. Thank you, Shakira, for sharing this story. I'm sure the people who are going to listen to this, or are listening to this, who are watching this, at least they will get the courage, especially girls, and of course the community and the boys. We're talking about how we can nurture the boys, to groom them to be people growing up respecting women. This is how it's supposed to be. But for now, what would be the way forward as we conclude the show?
I think we all have to, one, play our roles. You get? I think as policymakers, they need to sit down and identify the gaps. If someone is talking after 3 years and saying she went to the police and was not helped, policymakers need to sit down and revise, you know, the tool and be like, what is missing? What can we do to help girls better? What can we do to educate boys? What can we do? Like, we need to see our leaders playing their role when it comes to ending rape in Uganda. And we also need to see the police calm down and have people that are responsible for the rape cases really understand what it takes for someone to go, you know. First of all, they actually need to applaud the person that is going to speak to the police and be like, this is what has happened to me and I need help. We need to make sure, do we have the rape kits available? Like for someone, rather than me walking to a police station and after being interrogated, then the rape kits are not available. The process is already tiresome, and you know, and then probably the person was drunk, she didn't even have all her facts straight. But you, as a person that is investigating, are you knowledgeable enough to get the facts out of this person? Don't rush to dismiss the case and be like, oh, she's has her information mixed up, or she's not sure it even happened to her or whatever. But take the initiative to read further, you know. And then as, you know, society, we need, like I said, to be each other's keepers. Let's have our eyes and ears wide open, and let us not think that what happened to Shakira cannot come to my house simply because you have your kids in one house and closed and stuff. Because like this world is changing and rotating, and you know, you never know. Yes, what happened to someone else can come to your door. And as parents, like I said, let's play our role, let's be involved, let's have our ears on the ground, and everything that you see, make sure you speak to your child, make sure you have there's conversations with your child that will help them and shape them into better human beings. And for the rape victims, I will emphasize, it's not easy, but it is very important if you have the evidence. And I'm not saying if you don't have the evidence, you're invalid or your story is not valid, no. But seek help as fast as you can. And if you go to the police and they don't listen to you, keep going, push and don't give up. I know it's not easy. It might be a long, tiresome road by yourself, but keep pushing. Your story is valid, and it's most important. The earlier you do it, the better. Sometimes you can be scared of what is happening next, or what will happen if I talk to this person, or what will happen if I say what happened to me. But I'm here to assure you that if you don't speak, you're actually giving that person more power to do more damage to you. So it's better you speak now than later. Better late than never, anyway. And I think, in a nutshell, that's it. And maybe the toll-free line, you can look out for one. There's so many NGOs in Uganda here that are working on rape and victims and stuff. I feel like we should take it as an initiative for us to look for help. You get, as a parent, if something has happened to your child, we have Google, we have the word of mouth. Ask your neighbors. Don't keep it in. So look for help. You can call toll-free lines. For example, you can use the Sauti 116, yes, 116, and call for help and reach out. If they don't listen to you, don't take. We have so many roadblocks in our lives, but don't take it.
And of course, there's even
keep
this one.
quiet.
It's called is it SafePad app, where you report such.
Record things on your phone as evidence. You might not have physical evidence of this happened to me, or you might not, but you might have a conversation. Maybe when you call that person and confronted them when they least expect it. Let's be creative and let's end rape and violence against women. Yeah.
I'll start from that. Violence against women in Uganda, to be honest, is on an increase, and it is because of the insufficient policies, laws. We don't say that we don't have laws. We have laws, we have policies, but the implementation is not there. There are so many gaps that maybe Parliament and maybe, of course, the advocates are pushing for it to be revised. All these the policies, the laws to be revised, and of course, and see that they protect the victim and they protect the women. Because if we don't do this, of course, we're going to continue seeing these cases coming up. But for now, thank you for watching. If you are out there, you are that person, talk to your friends, talk to the mommy.
Come to my inbox.
And of course, you did tell us where people can find you actually.
Come to my inbox. On Facebook, I go by the names of Shakira. So look for me and come to my inbox. I'll listen. I might not do much, but I'll listen to you, and together we can find solution.
Yeah. It is about speaking up, speaking out, and finding the solution together, like she said. For now, thank you for watching, but keep the comments coming, ask questions, find all the ways on how you can really talk to the person who is next to you. See you.